Ashburton was known to be a very influential, not affluent, influential community in Baltimore City where a lot of African Americans were judges, they were preachers, they were physicians, and politicians. So I told her, show me the neighborhood. Well, when I moved in, I was one of the first young people to move into Ashburton because the houses and the lifestyle is so great that people never moved. So the people who are between the ages of 50 to 60, they had a very difficult time finding homes in Ashburton because there were no houses available. So whenever I would have people come by my home after my first year living here, they were shocked that I found a real house in Ashburton that had 3.5 bathrooms, that had a club basement.
There have been, in any number of, ever so often, there have been problems coming up with the result, as a result of some commercial interest trying to creep into the neighborhood. And as I mentioned once before, establishments that were supposed to be single homes, and then they've tried to turn them into apartments, not even just apartments for two, but multiple. But the neighborhood has fought it. So I'm hoping they'll keep that Ashburton will keep the commercial interest out.
The Ashburton Association didn't exist until the late to mid-60s because we didn't have any issues. Things were starting to change where we weren't getting the kind of services that we need in our community, and he decided to develop the Ashburton Area Association.
I moved in Ashburton in 1963. As I moved here and got settled, then I noticed that they had several associations. They had association on every street in Ashburton. My street had an association. They called it the Dennison Road Neighborhood Association. Then on Edgewood, they had the Edgewood Road Association. And then on Dorchester and Rosedale, and every street had the association. So I attended my Dennison Road Neighborhood Association, and I proposed to them that we come under one umbrella and we can have a little more clout with the people who are in charge, whoever they may be. And let's come together. And what gave me my inspiration was the fact that this was an investment. I had borrowed everything I could find to get here, and I wanted this neighborhood to last forever. And so I decided to put my energies in that direction.
Our neighborhood association, I think, has done a tremendous job in working with the people. And at the meetings, they talk about problems that need to be solved. And through our various committee heads, many of them are solved. We still have some problems, but in general, because of the closeness and the hard-working community and people, we're dealing with them. In general, I think that the association has handled the problems, and the people keep their property up well, which is what I'm very happy with, especially with my wonderful neighbors.
The mission of the Ashburton Area Association is to assure that we have a high quality of life for those residents that live here, to make sure that we maintain and improve upon our beautiful landscape that we have in our community. We really have some unique housing structure in Ashburton. We have English tutors, we have Spanish tutors, we have colonials, we have ranches. So I have the responsibility, along with other neighbors, to promote the community, to make sure that we get people into the community that are going to take care of their homes, that are going to be good neighbors. Ashburton's in a building upward state because we have a lot of young people that have moved in that started having children. So you have school-age children, and you have, unfortunately, a lot of people that live full lives that are now starting to pass away. We have many neighbors that have been here since the late 1950s, and unfortunately, they're starting to pass away. So you've got the changing of the guard that's going on right now.
We are better off than many communities, and that's because Ashburton is very vocal. And it's predominantly middle class. But that's changing, and hopefully the community will be, well, it's changing somewhat.
Ashburton used to be a predominantly Jewish community. It used to be a predominantly white-only community. The reason why the Jewish families moved from Ashburton was because real estate agents and brokers told these Jewish families that black people were going to move into the neighborhood and it was going to change. And you need to sell your house and get your money because the neighborhood is going to go down after black people get here. And so this was in 1957. So a lot of Jewish families were not familiar with living around African Americans at the time, Negroes. So Baltimore City had a problem with segregation. 35% of the city was African American, but only 5% of the housing stock was provided for African Americans. So African Americans lived in a very close-knit, crowded community, and in 1957 they were permitted to move to Northwest Baltimore. And the blacks that came to Northwest Baltimore were preachers, teachers, lawyers, physicians, and they moved up to the Ashburton community. And so the thing is, our neighborhood has seen 3 different waves. It was started out in September the 10th, 1920, to be a community for whites only. There was a gentleman's agreement that homes would not be sold to Jews. So it remained white only until the Depression. And then people had to start selling land. And Jewish people had money at that time. So they started buying houses. So they bought houses and became a predominantly Jewish community. And the one thing I must say is that this community, whether it was white only, predominantly Jewish, predominantly African American, it has remained the same type of individuals.
The composition had become almost completely black. But it's interesting to see the number of whites moving back. I noticed a number of whites moving back in. Maybe because, and some of them coming from Washington, because of the houses. The houses are very stable. This is an old house in which I live, but it's still, you don't, the workmanship and all, you don't find in many homes. I can't complain one bit. I've had wonderful neighbors, and some of them are still here. Not as many, of course, but we work together. For instance, if I go away, I call my neighbors to say I'm going away, and vice versa. They do the same. But we have a way of looking out for one another. The community has really been, as stated, more like a family also. I have my own family within a family. So I have enjoyed being a member of the Ashburton community. Don't know if everybody can say that, but I think a lot of people feel the same.
Having flea markets and block parties, getting the neighborhood sign put in, making us a community that has a 501c3 where you can receive donations and be a nonprofit organization. Those are the kinds of things as far as improving the neighborhood, making sure that we have some fun. We have an annual block party. Brings neighbors together because people are very, very busy with their own careers and other social organizations. If we have a block party, people come together, we eat, we dance, we have different activities for the kids. So we do some of the fun stuff too.
This community, I feel, will remain stable. It has a solid foundation, and as long as we can keep the leadership and the people continuing to work as they've been doing, I predict a very stable community in 10 years.